We're back live. Here we go. For those people that are not watching live, this is going to be boring. For those people that are watching live, hello. It's much more fun to do this live because you get to interact. I said I wouldn't make it. I wasn't doing a cooking show, and for sure enough, he did a little cooking earlier, but not exactly cooking, but apples. Anyway, let's see who's here. Anyway. It says 2. Right now, just me, myself, and I. Put this down just a hair more. So in this case, this is kind of a cooking show because I do have this sort of laid out, fixed, whatever. There was a lot of work that went into cleaning up this cylinder head. First one, Nikki. Very nice. So yeah, there's a lot of work that went into cleaning up this cylinder head, which I ended up getting from Chainsaw. And what else? I cleaned up the crankcase. I've degreased it. They're basically ready to install. Dude West, I'm working on a 372. This is the one with the cracked head. So it cracked an ear off the head because one of the bolts came loose. So we're going to do red Loctite today. I'm actually going to do a base gasket build on this. It's Thanksgiving Day. I don't even think I've had lunch. Not complaining. You know, I'm okay. So anyway, I think we'll just do this here and yeah. So just cleaned up the head internally and put it in the ultrasonic. This looks a whole lot better than it was. And we'll do a base gasket build with some goop. Yeah, it was pretty yucky. It's not 100% right now, but I'd say it's pretty good. Right. Hang on. So red Loctite first. We're going to put the 1184 on here. Don't have to use sealer, but I do. And I didn't even take this piston off. This piston is fine right here. Don't need to do anything. That's pretty even. Tell you what, I'm glad I'm going to get this project out of my basement. This has been sitting here for a bit. I want to wish everybody a very happy and safe Thanksgiving. I hope everybody has had their turkey by now and hopefully a little bit of pie. I'm doing Thanksgiving tomorrow with the folks. Always have trouble getting it right in here. There. Octillon. Yeah, the 385. I had a 385, and I actually sold it to the guy that actually owns this saw too. One of the reasons I ended up selling it was because it just didn't have great aftermarket product support. So every time you had to buy a part on that thing, you had to buy OEM. And it was pretty pricey. It was really pricey to build that saw, I'll tell you that. So just every part on there was... It just got so annoying. So I think I had $700 into that saw and by the time I was done with it, and it wasn't even a good-looking saw. And then it ran for a bit, and then, because it was my first ported saw, it actually hooked a ring. We put a new head on it, and then it got driven over by a chipper. So then I rebuilt it again. I think we did that live not too terribly long ago. Anywho, yeah. So there's basically no modification to this head. Yeah, 372 is really popular, and it's got great aftermarket product support. So, have a hard time beating it. And really, if I'm going to grab something bigger, I'm going to grab my 394. And I guess you could basically say the same about the 288. That you're going to, again, we've got circlips and oil in there, and so I'm just going to put this on here. Since this is a single ring piston, I don't necessarily need the ring compressors. It's a lot easier to put that thing down, that's for sure, without need for ring compressors. Okay. You can bring that piston down if you want. And our bolts go in. Anyway, so I got rid of my 385. I figured for me, it was kind of too in between for me to be able to justify having it. And when I have a saw, I like to have parts for it too, and it just became kind of impossible to stock parts for everything. And in this one, I did have the carburetor attached, which helps a little bit at least. Hey, Tim. Happy Thanksgiving. Change of plan. Found a new OEM clutch in Italy. Oh, nice. You found the clutch. That's wonderful, Nikki. my calibrated arm go? There it is. So is everybody knee-deep in pie? I hope everybody's knee-deep in pie. They're expensive, but a great power to... Yeah, I think it's fun to run, Larry. I really do. But for me, personally, I'd grab my 394, you know, before I'd grab that, or a 372 if I needed something a little smaller. So for me, it was kind of two in between. Nothing wrong with running it, though. I actually chased these with a tap earlier. It's pretty darn tight. That pulls over nice and smooth. While we're waiting for that to set up for 2 minutes, let's put this back on, I guess. Is apple pie a tradition on Thanksgiving? Apple pie, pumpkin pie, depends, you know. But anything like that, it's all good as far as you know. Pretty much just about any type of pie is good for Thanksgiving, but apple pie is, you know, it's so variable too, because you can use so many different kinds of apples, and they do indeed change the taste, the texture. There's all kinds of different ways to cook them. One way to cook an apple pie, I think, is like in plastic in a water bath of some kind. And a lot of prize-winning pies actually get cooked like that. I know that. But then it comes out different, at least different from what I'm used to, which is typically a regular old baked pie. Personally, I happen to, I like apple pie. My favorite is banana cream. Favorite pie is banana cream. I think strawberry rhubarb is a close second. Pretty rare that I have that. But apple pie is always nice, you know. Know what I mean? Actually, you guys have seen, I think you guys saw my cousin, Andy, that came on the channel. His mom had the apple pie recipe that I liked the best, and my wife got it from her and has worked with it and modified it and played with it every year. So. Hook everything up. Larry, I have 4 385s, really never had any issue with mine. More issues with the 390, 385. Well, they're really no different, except for what the cylinder head is a tiny bit bigger on the 390. And the 390 probably uses a newer version of the carburetor. The original 385s theoretically had issues with their bearings spinning, I think. Apple cobbler and fried apple pie. Very nice. Peach cobbler's nice. I'll tell you what. I do like peach cobbler. Gas line is on. Hook up the impulse line here. Okay, let's put this in. Put the decomp in. So this is, going. It's a fast install. Hey, David. I need my Thanksgiving Day present. You got to get that chain, man. Gee, that's not good. It was working before I put it in here. Larry, what were the issues that it had? Well, that's interesting. There's literally just too much carbon buildup inside there. Great. What kind of bird? It's a Nande conure. Don't ever get one. Too loud. There's no question. She's cute. She's fun. She's 24 years old. But she's way too loud. And she's small, she's not like one of the bigger birds. She's small, but she's just super loud. This is kind of cuckoo. I don't think I've ever seen this before, where this just had so much carbon buildup. They must have never used the decomp on this. Wow. Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen it where there was so much buildup that the decomp wouldn't actually work. Broke tooth on a clutch drum. Interesting. Worked, huh? Yeah, this is the one that broke the ear. Same saw. Almost. So this is a different head. Dude, Wes, take care. Have a great Thanksgiving. Damn little things. It always just kill me on these builds. I could be done by now. Georgie Everscoff. You know what? You're probably right. Here's how we'll find out. Let's see. I'd be real pissed if I got to do it, but yeah. You're right. Hello from Russia. Hello from the USA. 090, 090. Looking good, Matt. Just here. Aftermarket sprockets. Tried just too small of a bearing diameter for the shaft. The only way to potentially not have to pull the head off is to get it to come out the darn exhaust. But I can't, if I open the transfers, I'm screwed. Better would be to pull the head. Hang on, let's see. how it looks. Probably sucks, and I probably got to pull the head. You know? After I just did all that. Yeah, there's all kinds of junk in there. No good. Pull the head. Crap. Ugh. Come on, guys. I could blame somebody, right? Can't be me. That sucks. Northern Island boy. Hey, Matthew. Larry Warner and I have a couple new 390s. Unbalanced crankshaft right to the ferret. Interesting. I'll tell you what, they have not built the perfect chainsaw yet. Has not happened. I had this all cleaned up nice. It was going to be good. Probably lost my stinking gasket. Got to use another. Yep, the gasket ripped. Go wash the head here. Let's see here. And the gasket, fortunately, I can get off pretty easily because we're not fully set here. Should be able just to set that back down, literally. Okay. Come on. Come up hole. Good. Darn close. Good thing I got more gaskets. I know. I gotta go get one of those super scrapers that Sean Carr mentioned. Yikes. Larry, I like to build the saws that I run too. I definitely do. I really like. I don't like to just buy new. See, this was a brand new piston, still has the machine marks on it. Okay. Let me go give this a quick wash. I'll be right back. Oh, could have been done if it wasn't for this darn decomp. Well, because it was only on for 2 minutes, David. I came off easy. All right. Red Loctite one more time. Here we go. Thanks to Georgie for pointing that out. Would have been bad to have those chips in there, no question about that. Well, 090, I was messing with the decomp because it was all carboned up and gummed up, so that was my fault for getting that in there. Get a new gasket. Another one. That'll do. There we are. Impulse line through. Bolts in. Beds right in. Good squeeze out. Please tell me I didn't forget anything else. So frustrating sometimes. For the sake of interest, I decided to restore the bearing bore from the clutch side. In the end, a lot of torment on the milling and to a very good result. So you actually, what happened, Georgie? Did it spin? Did you spin a bearing? Mixed opinion 288 lights, but never ran one. Don't judge them. You spun the bearing, yeah. But you were actually able to rejuvenate the crankcase. That's interesting. The thing is, like, I'm just not sure there are really any saws that are really worth putting that much work into. It's not that I don't do it, but it's a lot of work. I mean, I put a lot of work into saws. There's, you know, little debate on that, but at times it really is like, you know, should your average Joe do that type of stuff? And the answer is probably not. I'll tell you what, the 181 that that I built here is quite the powerhouse in a small package, and I can't imagine that it's a whole lot different than the 288 Lite. Both of them have no, was it the anterior anti-vibe type of thing, that big coil in the front, big spring in the front. Neither of them have that. The difference, I think, is the 181 has a slightly different carburetor and a different throttle trigger. But other than that, you can put the 288 top end on either and have quite the powerhouse in a package that is not that much heavier than a 372. It's really not that much bigger or heavier than a 372, and you get nearly 90 cc's. So those can't possibly come out. Those come out, I give up, you know. Andreas, yeah, I guess you could call it fun. Like hanging out with you guys. I mean, everybody's here on a Thanksgiving Day. That's crazy. Muffler bolts. Got a new gasket. Might as well use it. Toss the old gasket. We have nothing to be thankful for in the Netherlands. Oh dear. I'm sorry. That's a dirt comment. Happy Turkey Day, William. Yep. Other than the Netherlands being like one of the most beautiful places on earth, right? Gotta be a beautiful place, right? Okay. 2 bolts low here. What do I got here? There we go. Muffler's on. Okay. Sean, evening from the UK. Howdy. Howdy from the United States, where we're having Thanksgiving. And I'm working on a saw. What else would I be doing? Need that again. The kids, jeez. Bunch of hyenas. My kids. Okay. Two on the bottom. Almost done putting her together. You want to pop it? Who doesn't want to hear it pop? Should we do a compression test first? Actually, here. Yep, WD-40 first. Not quite 150. Yeah, that's about, considering it's a gasket build, that's fine. Single ring piston, gasket build, that's fine. Spark plug. I just want to lubricate the cylinder a little bit before the... I mean, you can use 2-cycle oil too, but I just want to get a little bit of lubrication in there before the fuel gets in there. I've caught never-ending hell for it. Everybody's always got a comment, you got to use 2-cycle oil. No, not really. But whatever. A little bit of brake cleaner. How's that? So those are friggin' tight. Don't worry about them. All right. Next, I need to put the chain brake on here. Actually, this can go on this little rubber piece. It's always good to see that it goes. This one I know has a good coil, but when you're doing a full-on build and you don't know if it's good coil or carburetor or whatever, there's all kinds of different stuff that can interfere with something running right. Well, in this case, this one is unfortunately isn't money. This one is simply fixing apparently my mistake. So much for money. It would be money, but oh well. This one's going to be a little tricksy. These screws are always a pain in the neck. Here's just always a pain. Something always strips out. Something's never right. There we go. It's actually a captured bolt, sort of. How is the cylinder? Because the cylinder head bolts came loose. The head bolts came loose. Well, let's put it like this way. I'll own this one. The saw had just been rebuilt by me. It was only a month old. And the ear cracked off. So, you know, my bad. Of course, you know, with a rebuilt saw or even a new saw, you got to go in and do your head bolt checks. I'll bet it says in most of the manuals that if you're doing felling, you need to check your head bolts once a day. So nobody does it, but Pirate Solutions custom woodworking, lots of million cool stuff lately. Running a bunch of chainsaw builds. That's pretty cool. Well, I don't think he was blaming me either, but I figured, you know what, I picked up a used cylinder. This wasn't too much money. I'll just tell him Merry Christmas. I don't know. It just sucks that was a brand new cylinder head and it got buggered, you know. So, I forget, what do we have for a bar here? There we go. Here's the bar. Dirty, but whatever. Don't you love it when you have screws left over? What the heck's that? I've had a number of head bolt issues, so put them in pretty tight, though. Usually I'm pretty good at determining what's too tight and what isn't. At least I think I am. I gotta put the bolt in here. Let's get this piece in here. Yeah, Octillion, if you can, get it warm and then check it. But I'm pretty sure that most manuals probably say in there you got to check your head bolts daily. I don't know anybody that does it, but Wrist pin clip stuff. Oh, that, yeah, it's terrible. The wrist pins are just terrible. The circlips. You go, oh crap. That'll wreck your day. Well, I had to take this off, and that was for another issue, and, you know, just as bad. Plenty of a pain there. Okay. So I just need the top cover and the air filter, but I won't do that. I guess I can put the air filter on, but I'll put the top cover on after I get this tuned. Probably pretty close right now, but it's not like things are going to change a whole lot from head to head, but there it is. Ta-da! I've had saws brought to me with head bolts backed out. I've never had one with that issue. Yeah, you got to check them. Yeah, I agree. Especially if it's a fresh build, you know. It's one. I think it's one thing if it's from the factory. Everybody kind of expects that nothing's going to back out from the factory. But if you've just had a fresh rebuild on something, I think you got to check them. And Ken was saying that, you know, heat cycle it 3 times, check them, and then hand it back to the customer. I think that's pretty good policy, so I think I'll do that, you know. Thanks, David. I forgot the wristband clip. Ran just a bit, destroyed the cylinder. Like to see how to tune it. Sean, I am not the best guy for tuning saws, but I'll tell you what. Who is it? Is it M. Weeba? Has a great video on how to tune a chainsaw. It's a reason why I really haven't done a video on how to tune a chainsaw, is because that's already covered on YouTube. I think it was covered pretty darn good by him as well. So you don't really, you know, need me to do it. Let me see if I can. You want M. Weeba. And you probably want to yeah, so just search for Mweba and then probably how to tune a chainsaw. So Nikki, open question, are your cylinder bolts tuned? Use Loctite. So Nikki, I don't check them hard. I go to about half torque on my hand. Just to check that they haven't moved at all. Believe me, if something moves easy, it means the Loctite was shot anyway, you know, or it didn't take, or something happened, you know. So yeah, Mweba has a good video on how to tune a chainsaw. There was really, after I saw it, I'm like, there's really no point in me making one, since I really don't consider myself an expert on how to do it anyway. So it's like sharpening chains, you know. Am I going to do an instructional video on how to sharpen a chain? Heck no. It's not like I don't think I'm okay at it, but I think I'm only okay at it. I'm definitely not an expert on how to sharpen a chain. So there's really no point in me doing a sharpening video. And Sean, in reality, I'm always checking for tune. You know, I'm always listening. You always got to be listening on these things, because things happen with saws. Especially my builds. The unexpected happens, and it'll drive you completely berserk. Two gallons of fuel, Larry. It's considerable. Not a bad idea, but yeah, it's a lot. Right, you got to tune to temp and all that stuff. Yeah, I agree. It's cold outside. If it's hot outside, always be checking the tune. And that's the thing about the auto-tune saws, is you don't have to really worry about it. So for your average bare tree guy, the auto-tune makes a lot of sense. They don't have to mess around with it. I am not necessarily a fan of the auto-tune because I like to tinker. I like to be able to build the whole thing myself and fool with it, but you know. Actually, I had a great question by Casey on email. I was going to read it to you guys today. I don't know if Casey's here. Different heights have to readjust. Casey, are you here? Yeah, I've done mine to sound too. It would be nice to have a tack. I don't have a tack. I got to get one. And Nikki, I like my my electric chain sharpener. In fact, I was just using it today, but I use it mainly on really rock chains. If it's not a rock chain, if it's not a chain that's completely shot, then I do it by hand. So what I'll probably end up doing is after you do the electric sharpener, then I'll run the chain for a bit and then go back and hand refine it, you know. But let me read. I got an email, a great email from Casey. Let me read that for you guys, because I think it was. He said, ideally, primarily with steel saws, but I'd like to start rebuilding Husky too. What Huskies are worth the effort and cost for flipping? As for a steel 260, 340, 40, the new version is great sellers. 290 not so good. Blah blah blah. So. Smaller saws cost too much to rebuild. Maybe a group question. So this is a group question, and the question effectively is, what saws are worth it to rebuild? And when anybody figures that one out, you let me know. I would say. For flipping, if you're trying to make money, like, everything has to go right. Everything has to go just right. Because if something goes a little bit wrong with a chainsaw, then you end up doing what I just did today. And if anybody thinks I'm making money on that, they're wrong. So, you know, one little thing goes wrong, and you're not making money. And if you're only making $50 on a flip, that definitely doesn't cover your time. What are you going to do? You know, $10 an hour, 5 hours for teardown and rebuild. It's at least 5 hours for teardown and rebuild. Plus all the goops and things and sealants and Loctites and sprays and brake cleaner. All this stuff takes up an enormous amount of money. Somehow this is not going here. Hey, Ken. Yeah, the 359 is probably very underrated, so I would love to do one. So overall, you know, what Huskies are good to do, if you're rebuilding stuff and you're trying to flip it, number one, you got to start out with this. Number one, you have to get it cheap. Number two, the saw has to have, you have to figure out what the saw is worth in good mechanical shape, what it's going to be worth after the rebuild. So you have to know the market. So like a Husky 372, after rebuild, new bearings, new seals, should bring $500 all day long. Assuming you get the saw for free, you know, a new cylinder head is going to run you at least $150 just for that. Bearings, seals, anything else, a new carburetor, sometimes a new coil, whatever else is on there, starts adding up in a huge hurry. And the thing is, most of the time you're not getting 372s for free. Most of the time you're buying 372s as part saws for like $250, which is nuts. But that's what a lot of them are going for on eBay. You get a blown 372, everybody's going to want that at $250, $300 all day long on eBay. So what happens is your margins are just not good for flipping. So what do you do? You know, pie in the oven. I don't know. Yeah, the 2 series is a great series of saws. But you know, like the 262 is very desirable. They probably sell for $350 to $400, but as a part saw, people are going to want $200 plus for them. So there's really no margin for making money in there. Right, you know, you gotta find saws for cheap. Or free. Saws for cheap or free, and they have to be something that is going to be worth something at the end. So, you know, 288s, the old Husky 288s, pretty desirable saw. They're probably worth $500 all day long, if not $600, in reasonable shape. So, you know, you have to figure out what you have to work with. Whether you're going to do an all OEM build or, you know, you're going to throw some aftermarket stuff in there, whatever, you have to cater to your audience, your customers. You know, if you're going to sell something, let's say on Arborist side or OPE, you got guys that probably want all OEM, and they're going to be paying attention to that. If you have customers that, you know, really could care less whether you're using aftermarket or whatever, they just want the whole thing done cheap, then you have to kind of cater to your customer.